But we have forgotten that. We are under illusion. So that's point number 2. Point number 3. They say Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. They say the absolute truth, the spiritual light, Brahman, is the only truth. Everything else is illusion. This material world, Jagat, is Mithya, is false, it's illusory. Not only is your individuality and my individuality illusory, the very world in which we stay, this whole material world, is an illusion. It doesn't exist. And the 4th point, they say that when that Supreme Brahman descends into this world as an avatar, like Krishna or Ram or Narasimha, etc., the body of that avatar is made of material elements, made of Maya. The descent of the Supreme Brahman into this world as an avatar is also under the jurisdiction of Maya. So they say, in effect, that the body of Krishna, the body of Ram, of Narasimhadeva is material just like our bodies are material. So these are the 4 tenets, the main tenets of Mayavad. So it is the philosophy that says that there is illusion. What illusion in what way? Number 1, that the living entities are under the illusion that they are not God, that they are separate individuals. So they are under illusion, number 1. Number 2, the material world is Maya, is illusion. And number 3, the avatars have a body that is made of Maya, of illusion. So therefore it is called Mayavad. Okay? So now let's briefly try to refute it. Let's take the first point. What was the first point? The Supreme Absolute Truth is impersonal spiritual light. That is formless, without qualities, without activities, and is unlimited. Right? Now, of course, that doesn't, it is not borne out by logic. Let's give some simple logic. Now we see that in this world there is form. You have form, I have form, this has form. There is form everywhere. The Supreme Absolute Truth is that from whom everything emanates. Therefore the Supreme Absolute Truth must have within itself everything that exists in its emanations. So we are all the emanations from the Supreme Absolute Truth. If we have form, the Supreme Absolute Truth must also have form. Now the counter argument to that may be that, well, there's also formlessness that we see here in this world. The air is formless. The air is also coming from the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore the Lord is formless. So what is our counter to that? Our counter is, yes, because there is form and there is formlessness, both exist in this world, therefore both must coexist in the Supreme Absolute Truth. So the Lord has a form and He also has a formless aspect simultaneously. Now, which of the two is superior? The person, the form is superior, because it is only from the person that the impersonal can emanate. Behind the impersonal there is always a person. I give this example often, that when we say the government has taken such a decision, what we mean is that certain persons in the government have taken that decision. The government is an impersonal term, but actually it's people who are behind the impersonal thing. The source of that impersonal word government are some people, some ministers, some bureaucrats, some officials, and they are the ones who take the decision. It's not some abstract entity called government that takes decisions. There are people taking decisions. So the personality is always superior to the formless aspect. Furthermore, scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam and great acharyas like Brahma in the Brahma Samhita explain and describe the beauty of Sri Krishna's form, and they also describe it as being spiritual, Satchidananda Vigraha. He has a form that is spiritual, that is made of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So, the Mayavadis, they only have an understanding of the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Brahman, but they do not have any understanding of a higher reality that is spiritual, that has a form. Okay, so that is regarding the first point. What was the second point? That the living entities in this world are actually God, but they have forgotten that because they are under the influence of illusion of Maya. And liberation means to overcome that illusion by jnana, by meditation and so on. And then you extinguish your individuality, which didn't exist in the first place, and you become Brahman once again. So how does one refute that? Any refutation? Yes.
We can't be, although we're equipped to realize our connection to the complete whole, we can't be the complete whole by ourselves, because our potency and our beauty isn't equal, it's just qualitatively equal, not quantitatively equal.
Yes, you're saying that we are very tiny.
Yes.
Yes. But they say, well, the Brahman does become tiny. But he is Brahman all the same. He is all great, all powerful, all the same. You know what our argument is? Our argument is very simple. If you are the Supreme, how did you come under the influence of illusion? What kind of God are you who comes under the influence of illusion? That means illusion of Maya is more powerful than you, God. That means Maya is God, not you. You see the contradiction? So the fact or the assertion that the Supreme Brahman can come under illusion is itself a contradictory thing. You can't have something that is supreme coming under the influence of something that is inferior. You can only have something coming under the influence of something superior. So that means Maya or illusion is superior. So it all ends up with a lot of confusion. The third point. What was the third point? Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. This Brahman is the impersonal light, is the only reality. The material world is illusion. And they give the example of the rope and the snake. They say sometimes in the dark, you catch hold of a rope and suddenly you think, oh my God, it's a snake. So you mistake a rope for a snake. So in the same way, we mistake this world for reality, although it's an illusion. So that is the analogy or example that they give. So how do Vaishnavas counter that? We counter that by saying, it is indeed a mistake to consider a rope as a snake. But the point is that the rope exists. The mistake is in considering the rope as a snake. In the same way, the material world exists. It is reality. It is true. The only thing is, it is temporary. And to imagine material forms to be eternal, that is the mistake. When we imagine the material body to be ourselves, that is the mistake. That is the illusion. But the fact that this body exists, that is not an illusion. It does exist. Let me give a simple example. Suppose you're dreaming that you're a king or a queen. Now, you wake up, of course, and find out that you're no longer a king or a queen. Now, is it a reality or is it not a reality? Is the dream true or not true?
Not true.
The fact that you dreamed is true.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a dream is true. What you saw in the dream is not true. You get the point? You're not the king, but it is a fact that you dreamt that you were a king. So you can't say it's all illusion. Your thinking of yourself as a king is illusion. But you were dreaming. There is a reality. So in this way, the material world is a reality. But when we dream of things in this material world, I am such and such, and I am this, and this world is such and such, we impose all sorts of false conceptions on the material world. That is wrong. That is false. That's a mistake. And point number 4, when the Supreme Brahman descends into this world as an avatar, as an incarnation, as God descended into this world, the body of that incarnation is also made of matter. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, actually Krishna says very clearly in the 7th chapter, Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayaha param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. He says, my dear Arjuna, there are some people, abuddhayaha, who are devoid of intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, abuddhi means without intelligence. So there are some people who are devoid of intelligence who think that actually I was formally, or the absolute truth is formally impersonal, unmanifest, avyaktam. And from this impersonal light, unmanifested form of the Supreme Brahman, vyaktim apannam, that unmanifested has come in the form of a person. Vyakti means a person. It's not just vyakta, which means manifest. It's interesting. So in this world, avyaktam, it is not avyaktam vyaktam apannam, it is avyaktam vyaktim apannam. It is not simply that the philosophy they say is that from the unmanifested became manifest, but they say that from the unmanifest, impersonal, the personality was formed. So that means when Krishna descends into this world, he was formally impersonal, and just for the sake of descending, he assumed a form. But that is a philosophy that is believed by foolish people, Krishna says. Manyante mam abuddhayaha. So those who are foolish think that I was formally impersonal, that I didn't have a form, and now I have assumed a form for the sake of descending into this world. Param bhavam ajananto, they don't know my supreme nature. Mama avyayam anuttamam, they don't know my finest spiritual form, my nature, and that I am imperishable. So in this way, Krishna's form is completely spiritual. There is no trace of any material contamination in him. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna elsewhere keeps repeating the same point. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim svamadhisthaya sambhavam yatmamayaya. He says, my dear Arjuna, even though I am unborn, still I appear within this world. And when I appear within the material world, I appear in my original spiritual form. From my original spiritual potency, my form has nothing to do with the maya or the illusion of this world. So Krishna always has a spiritual body in the spiritual world, and also when he descends into this material world. Krishna is never touched by the material energy. Krishna is always in control of his material energy, whichever does his bidding. So in this way we can understand that the Mayavad philosophy is patently untrue. One of the consequences or corollaries of this philosophy is also when they say that because the impersonal Brahman is without qualities and attributes, there is no variety, there's no variegatedness in the light. Just like in sunlight, there's no variety, right? There's just light. It's all one uniform, undifferentiated light. So they say in the Supreme Brahman, which is just spiritual light, there is no differentiation between things. Like here we see difference. There is a microphone, there is a book, there's a flask, there's a chair, there's a body. There's differences, there's variety. But in the impersonal Brahman, there is no such variety. It's all just undifferentiated light, spiritual light. But of course, they don't realize that this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. There is variety that exists here in matter. There is variety that exists in the spiritual world in spirit. So when we see a reflection and you see variety there, there will also be variety in the object which is being reflected. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Antavattu phalam teshan tad bhavatyalpamedasam devan devayajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mamapi. He says, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Those who are of alpamedha, who are less intelligent, think they worship the demigods. Because the worship of the demigods yields fruits that are only temporary, that are material. Therefore, people who worship the demigods for material benefits are not very intelligent. And they will attain to the planets of the demigods. But my devotees, dear Arjuna, mad bhakta yanti mamapi, they attain to me, to my abode, my planet. So Srila Prabhupada explains there that just as the demigods have their bodies, they have their abodes. There is Svargaloka, all the demigods have. Brahma has his abode, Indra has his abode, the sun god has his abode. They are all existing, they have their abodes. And these abodes have variety. So similarly, Krishna's abode also has variety, but spiritual variety. In this world you find material variety, in the spiritual world you find spiritual variety. In the Brahma Samhita, Krishna says, Brahma says, Chintamani prakarasadmashu kalpavriksha lakshavriteshu surabhirabhipalayantam Lakshmi sahasrashata sambrahmasevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So Brahma is saying, I offer my obeisances to the primeval Lord Govinda, who lives in an abode that is full of abodes that are made of transcendental gems. Chintamani prakara sadmashu. Sadmashu refers to homes or houses. Prakara means made of. Chintamani means touchstones. So there are houses in the spiritual world, and they're made of transcendental touchstone, not of brick and mortar, not of wood and steel and so on, but they're made of transcendental spiritual touchstones. Kalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu. And that Govinda, that Krishna, is surrounded by hundreds of thousands of wish-fulfilling trees, kalpa vriksha. Whatever you want can be fulfilled by those trees. Go to those trees and say, I want an ice cream, you'll get it. That doesn't happen here. And it's better it doesn't happen, because we'll be in big trouble if that happens. No. I'll just tell a quick story before I go on, because it's come to mind. One time there was a traveler who was very tired. He came to a tree and he said, I'm so tired, let me rest for the night here. And as soon as he thought, I want to sleep, and I wish I had a nice bed, all of a sudden a beautiful, luxurious bed appeared in front of him. He said, wow, that's cool, he said. That's what we say here, right? It's cool. It's a nice bed that's come up here. So nice to sleep. So he lay down. And as he was laying down, he was thinking, yeah, actually I'm also hungry. I wish I had a nice feast. And lo and behold, a nice feast manifested in front of him. And then he had a good feast. And then he was thinking, but it's getting dark. And this is the edge of the forest. And what if a tiger comes here and eats me? And what happened? The tiger came and ate him. So that was a wish-fulfilling tree of this material world. So very dangerous to have such trees here. So don't regret the fact that you don't have them here. But in the spiritual world, there are such wish-fulfilling trees. Surabhir abhipalayantam, and Govinda is engaging, he has activities, he engages in herding the cows. So there are cows there. There are cowherd boys and cowherd men and cowherd maidens who are gopis. There are trees, there are plants, there are homes, there is so much variety there. So therefore this spiritual world is full of transcendental variety and excitement and adventure. And it's only when one follows in the footsteps of great devotees like Brahma that these things will be revealed to us. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to reveal that spiritual world to us, specifically Goloka Vrindavan, which Brahma has been describing. So by joining the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Krishna consciousness movement, by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and following the other rules and regulations, we will also one day be able to enter into that transcendental, wonderful abode and participate with Krishna and his associates in those extremely wondrous and blissful pastimes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. But I'm not letting you go so easily. I'm going to ask you to tell me the 4 points. What are the 4 tenets of Mayavad? Number 1. Please raise your hand. Yes.
God is impersonal light, spiritual light.
Yes, God is impersonal light. So, what about that? What is it that he doesn't have? Form, qualities, attributes, activities. So the first point is God is impersonal, spiritual light. Number 2, we are all God. Actually, by the way, all it needed was an apostrophe in S and it would have been correct. We are gods. Not G-O-D-S, but just put an apostrophe. Yes? After D, what does it become? We are gods. That means we are property of God. That's all you need. Just put a little apostrophe. So anyway, that's the second point. We are all God and we are under the influence of Maya or illusion, and
if you remove this illusion, will become God.
And if you remove this illusion, you are already God, you realize you're God. How do you remove that illusion? By meditation, cultivating speculative knowledge and austerity and so on. That's point number 2. Point number 3, this material world is illusion. It doesn't exist, it's false. Only the impersonal spiritual light is reality. It's point number 3. Point number 4,
when God descends, he has material body.
when God descends here as his avatars, his body is material, made of Maya. So he is also under the influence of illusion. So these are the 4 points. Now, 1 line, 2 line, 3 line refutations of each of these 4. The first point, that God is only impersonal light. Who would like to refute it very briefly? You'll get some extra Mahaprasad if you do. Yes.
In this world, we have form and formlessness, so form and formlessness must also exist in the Supreme Heart.
And which is superior?
The form is superior
Because?
Formlessness emanates from form.
Yes, formlessness emanates from form. Yes? So this is in brief one refutation of that. Okay, the second point, that we are God and we are now under the influence of illusion. By removing this illusion, we once again become God. How do you refute that very briefly?
We are not God. That's why we are under the influence of Maya. We
Yes.
can't be God.
Hmm.
as we are under influence of Maya, so that's the refutation.
Okay.
If you are
A
super,
little more specifically?
God is supreme and can't be inferior to Maya.
Sorry?
God is more supreme and it cannot be inferior to Maya.
Yes, if God is supreme, how come he is under the influence of Maya? That means that illusion is more powerful than God. That means illusion is God. It doesn't make sense? Yes? Okay, that's point number 2. Refutation for point number 3, which is that this material world is false.
This is not false, but this is a temporary. This is temporary, not false.
Okay, this material world is real, but it's temporary. And the forms made of matter are ever changing. And when we identify with them and think that they are real, then that is illusion. But the world is not an illusion, it exists. What was the example that they give? A rope and the snake. And what do we say?
Both exist.
Yes, it is a fact that we mistook the rope for a snake, but the rope exists. The rope is not false. Snake also exists somewhere else. But the rope is real. So similarly, this material world is real. We may imagine this material world to be something that it is not. That's a different question. But the world exists. And the fourth point? What is the fourth point? The avatars made of matter. How do we refute that? Sorry? From the Mataji's side, anyone? Okay, from here?
Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Avyaktimapanya.
Yes.
The people think that, some people think that I was first formless and then came into form. But that is not true. They do not know my superior higher nature.
Wonderful. And these people are very intelligent, or what are they? What does Krishna say? Abuddhaya, which means they're not intelligent. So they think, Krishna says wrongly, that I was formerly impersonal and then I assumed a form. But they are unintelligent, therefore they don't know the truth. And as far as variegatedness of the spiritual world is concerned, because Prabhupada does talk of variety in the spiritual world here in the purport, so I included this. What is the evidence of variegatedness, of variety in the spiritual world? Yes.
we are having material world is full of variegatedness, and this material world is the image of the spiritual world. So
Reflection.
if the spiritual world is having variegatedness, we can't have it material.
Yes. We see variety here in this material world. According to Bhagavad Gita, the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Therefore, this spiritual world must also have variety. And also the great devotees and saints said, with their deep realization of the spiritual world, describe to us what the spiritual world looks like. Even the Srimad Bhagavatam has wonderful descriptions of Vaikuntha Loka and what goes on there, the birds, the trees, the residents, the vehicles in which they travel, their clothing and everything, their activities, it's all described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So not only must we know what the tenets of the Mayavad philosophy are, we must also know, at least in brief, how to refute them. And we must be very cautious that we don't go here and there listening to all sorts of spiritual lectures because they appear to be similar to what we've been hearing in Radha Landaneshwar temple. It may appear to be similar, but only superficially so. You probe a little deeper and you'll see all sorts of Mayavad tumbling out of the closet. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu warned us to be careful. Okay, thank you very much. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna. Thank you.